it's Carolyn here for another channeled message from the Light Keepers. And this channel grew out of changes I've noticed in myself over the last month, which I've been very attuned to, and also tied to the phases of the awakening. Now, if you remember in the past, those of you who've been watching my videos, I've had a few videos on phases of the awakening that are common, that we all go through typically at one time or another. But the interesting part is now they've identified another phase. And I'm going to talk about that today after I read the channel. And I'm going to give you some examples of what I've noticed with respect to this phase. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me again, as you always do. And thank you to those of you who are new. I'm Carolyn Zaiser. I'm a channel, a distance energy healer, and a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer these channels for your awakening and ascension journey to support you along your way and to give you some kind of understanding of the things that are going on in this journey in your life. So I have a free video that I also want to offer you for those of you who are new. Down below in the description box, you're going to see how to create flow in your body for health and wellness, and it will lead you to more free content as you click on that link. So I hope you will join me. And with that today, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the channel, and then I'm going to give you my takeaways that I always do and some of the experiences that I've had, particularly over the last month, which, as I said, have led me to ask about this and then to receive this channel. Now, there's not going to be any text on this one either because it is a longer channel. Okay, so just so you know, in the beginning of this channel, they start out talking to me and then they start talking in general terms. This new phase is a time just like you are feeling. Now we will explain for others in their way. But as you go through the awakening, there are distinct phases that have been mentioned by us already too. And the one that is coming now for many of you who are moving forward in the sense of, at this time, in this phase of the awakening, you will notice it is hard to put in words what you are feeling too. But it is a shifting to the calmer ways. A serene energy comes over you in your days, almost as though you're drifting along, floating through the days, a bit off the ground, we say. Not that you are ungrounded, though. It is just that it feels you are lighter too, and moving through a different timeline, we say too. But just a bit of the shift to one that is higher vibration in your day. For there are many timelines too, more than you can ever imagine, running parallel to each other, we say. Moving in and out of them you are in your day. Some are higher vibration too, and then as you move through the awakening, moving up vibration, feeling lighter in your day, comes a stage where you begin to notice less of the fits and starts. A more smooth energy has come in your way. And yes, we know there are changes of the earth and sun and planets too that assist you. But we are talking right now mostly about what happens when you are in the awakening today. For combined together, a bit of a shift is now coming in time. You feel it too. More becomes easier in your way. Subtle shifts, we say, changes in your environment today. Small ones, for many different timelines exist, parallel versions of what you are going through. Distinctly hard to say and speak in words, and we find it is something that only one can feel truly inside. But it is as though a lighter grace has come, as we spoke of recently in the past days with respect to how a lighter grace would befall you as you entered into end times of this year. And now this grace is upon you. Many of you who have moved forward in this stage of the awakening will find a sense of calmness coming over you too, a bit of serenity, but yet still some bumps along the road that come with life to experience in your day. This will continue, it is true. You will keep learning and encountering the beauty and at times difficulty too. But this is the journey, and yet so much more will be taken with grace in your way. Not seen as difficult, and you will handle it differently in your way. For the vibration is higher, and you have shifted into a new frequency too, moving out of the 3D, the heaviness of that energy we say too. But yet, you are still here in body and form, but bringing that lighter grace into the human experience in your day, continuing to shift across these waves of layers of similar but subtly different experiences that become even more positive for you. Your body at times feels lighter. Sometimes your diet will change from what it had been previously in the earlier awakening in your day. Feeling more in the now moment too. Additionally, time is becoming even more confusing too, but you are getting used to it, we say. This is what it is like living in the now moment in your day. You will continue to move forward in experiencing this kind of living. Less affects you and worries you too. You have set aside the concerns that have always bothered you. Stress is fewer and further away than it has ever been in your day as you move from a moment, shifting up in frequency, yet still on this earth plane. For yes, you are here, making a difference in your day, but experiencing a different version of it too. For there are many versions of what is playing out in this one moment, we say too. Subtle differences make all the difference in your day, and ultimately, too, across the human populace, we say too. And lean into this time, for as we mentioned, the rest of 2019 will be clearing out in your way, adjusting to new energies, preparing for 2020, where so much more will change and shift in the greatest of multitudes. But this time we speak not of the future, but instead of right now, what you are feeling in time, a new stage, and yet the energies still come in your way. A lighter grace it is too. But at night you may find you are doing other things, we say too, and difficult sleeping can come, but you will have greater grace in your day, a lighter energy too. Your body at times feels lighter, as though you're floating along, enjoying more of what you encounter in your day. So yes, your reality is shifting too when small things start changing and you notice them too, for this is also part of it. You are aware of the shift and the change, be it across the people you run into or the typical things that you used to do that would at times annoy you. Now they are going to be less concerning in your day. And others in your way too will be shifting and changing, finding a different version of them, we say too. And the times for many of you who are going your own way in the sense of no longer seeing those who you are used to. Parting ways will continue, but it will be what most feel is a lighter grace, meeting others in this timeline too of this parallel reality of subtle shifts. Others may come back in your life, for they are also gaining in frequency in their day, meeting your match or coming along for the journey. Sometimes they are unconscious of this, for they are not necessarily going through the awakening, we say too. But their journey will be coming, and yet they show up in your parallel reality in your way. This is difficult to explain, for all are feeling the energies differently. But this is something we wish you to know. This is a phase one goes through, and so. What you have been waiting for, a lighter grace in your day, where things feel easier and less difficult too. Even at times, pain and suffering in the body too will be lesser. A healthier version you may find yourself in today. So know that this is a time for all of you, the light beings you are too, to start shining brighter, becoming the ethereal being in your way, yet still embodying the human, we say. So understand the feelings you have are oh so grand and part of this journey too, of the great awakening and the ascension too. For as one rises in consciousness, aware you are of what is going on, but you are feeling it and experiencing it, being able to put it into words in your way, but many more won't understand. Which is why we bring you these phases, so you can understand them and embody them and notice the beauty of them along your way. We leave you in light and love this day, now and forevermore. The Light Keepers. So, regarding this new phase, I do believe it's very hard to put this into words. Now, what I will say first of all is some of you, we're all in different phases of the awakening. Many are starting to wake up now, moving through the stages. Many have been waking up for some time. Some of you that are listening to this may be in the very beginning stages. And just know this is another phase of the awakening as you move through the initial stages. Additionally, for those of you who have already experienced this, you're going to be able to say, oh, yeah, this is where I was or am. And this is actually the phase I'm in right now. And it's very interesting because, okay, I have chills right now in talking about this. I think they just confirmed that this is the phase I'm in. But the point being is what I have noticed over this last month is it's almost as though, like they said, I'm floating a couple inches off the ground and just moving along casually and smoothly in my day to day. And again, not that I'm ungrounded, but that I'm really, and I don't want to say rooted in the 3D, but I am participating in the 3D, affecting those around me. But what I have done is, with all those other stages that I've previously talked about, is I'm bringing that 5D energy back in. So what we did in the earlier stages, and this is how I describe it, is our 3D self through the awakening moved up here through all those difficult parts of that journey. Not that we don't have difficult stuff going on now, I'm not saying that, but the point being is there is a lighter grace, as they say. Anyway, earlier stages, you're moving up, you're going through that, really that metamorphosis, breaking out into the butterfly, all right? You're in that cocoon. You're coming out, you're grabbing that 5D energy and that 5D way of living, that 5-way, embodying it, that 5D way. And it's very hard to put into words, but those of you who are experiencing this, you understand that it's like we get shot up into 5D and we get twisted around, we get metamorphosized, and then we come back down, we bring it with us to share in 3D. But now what's happening is it's a smoother part of the journey now. How this is manifested in my life, as I look at what they've said here, is, again, I do feel as though I am focused right here, even more than I've ever been. And these little things that will come in your way as a human that poke you and prod you and used to really get under your skin, they either aren't on the radar anymore or they're in your awareness for a moment and then they're gone, because you start realizing, and I don't want to say start realizing, you start living in this more now way of being. And I think this is even stronger as you have a strong meditation practice. So I think you can amp this up even further, of this really being in that now moment. And so these little tweaky things, these little memories, these or even these things that happen right now with someone that may irritate you, it's almost like there's this, I don't want to say wall, but in a way, a division between you and that person now, where that just bounces off the wall and back and doesn't affect you. You observe it, you deal with it, and you move on. It doesn't affect you deeply inside yourself like it used to. But you are still here in this 3D sharing that light of the 5D energy. Now, they also talk about something, and I'll get back to some of my examples, but I thought this was fascinating, and they gave me a visual of this, talking about parallel realities, moving in and out of different timelines. What they showed me, and I hope to explain this properly, is there's a multitude of the same activities going on at the same time, but at parallel, I guess I would say, almost like it's layered, all right? And as we go up with the layers, and this is time, okay, on all these layers, and as we go up in this level, the activities are the same, but there's a subtle difference. There's a higher vibration when you're up operating at the 5D, and then you may flow right back down into the 3D. And then you're starting to move up into the 5D, and you start noticing this, all right? But there's these parallel realities where you're going to see subtle shifts in people, in situations you're in. And I'm going to use an example for myself because it's kind of hard to envision what I am talking about, where there's these same realities moving on, but there's subtle shifts and subtle difference, and they're minute as you move up. But then as you start moving up into more the 5D way of living, that becomes a place where you encounter less stress and strife in your day, and also in how you manage it, and the people that come your way. So I firmly believe, and I've been a believer about this for quite some time, is that we move along this trajectory, but now in the awakening, we're moving 3D, 5D, and then we're moving up and we're bringing that back down into our daily life. But it's how we live that. It's what parallel reality, it's what timeline we choose to bring in and live from. So here's a very subtle example of what I'm talking about. And you may very likely start noticing these things in your life as you approach this phase of the awakening. So in my neighborhood, I'm in a very large college community, and is a good mix of ages, good mix of people owning or renting, but it's highly populated. So there are also a lot of college students here, whether it be grad students or undergrad. Point being, a lot of rental properties, which, you know, is not the greatest thing at times, because what I have found is people don't take care of their rental properties, all right? What I have noticed lately, and I know it's tied to this, is suddenly my neighborhood is shifting. Now, it's always been high vibe, but it's even more high vibe. And what's really interesting is now, just in a radius of 1 block, I have 3 properties that have been actually bought by people who are wanting to own a home. But the point in this is they're caring about their property. They're putting some effort into it. They're making it beautiful. Whereas before, it very much, was not cared for. So he's not going to give up. So I'm going to leave him in my lap. This is my friend here, Hiroshi, that you've seen on occasion. Needless to say, these are subtle shifts and changes that you are going to very likely start to notice. Something else that I noticed is, for me, things that might irritate me being around other people that I'm around regularly, and the best example is probably family, because they tend to get under our skin because we spend the most time with them typically, is I don't even notice some of the things that are said anymore. And they are shifting as a result too. As you start moving into that high vibe place of being, that 5D way of living, and you're living up here and you're bringing it into your 3D reality in the sense of, the physical, bringing it into the physical, they start operating from a different level. So you're really moving and shifting everybody up to live on a different parallel reality, if that makes any sense. And I may not be using my terms properly, but that's what I'm being offered. So here's another thing that I've noticed. And again, these are very subtle shifts. And I firmly believe that over time, this is how it's all going to shift and change. We're going to see subtle changes to a higher vibe around us, in our communities, in the people we're with, subtle changes over time. Traffic, okay, is so annoying in my town. And we have 30,000 college students in our university. And so, of course, we're back in the fall season. And oh my gosh, the traffic is insane with all the construction and everything too. Needless to say, we have a mess around the corner from me, and you can hardly get out of the area I live in. But you know what? Something's up, because everybody's nice to each other. They're letting each other in. Nobody's ticked off about the crazy construction and the amount of traffic and the much longer time it takes to actually get somewhere. That's not the norm. And I know that something is shifting and changing. And I do feel that it has to do with this, again, parallel reality that is actually at a different vibration. And that's what we're going to continue to see over time. Subtle shifts, subtle shifts, subtle shifts. And as we continue to keep our vibration high and continue to work through the awakening, we're going to be living at that level. Now, you can argue, well, then is there always this lower level way of living here that and I'll just use 3D way of living in the sense of unconsciousness? I don't know, but I tend to think that may be our new earth. You see what I'm saying? Where we are subtle shifting, but we're moving along the same timelines with the same activities, but we're not aware anymore of that more unconscious parallel reality. We're actually at a higher level reality, moving through time and space. And then you start noticing all the things that are shifting and changing to the greater good. So this can be very confusing, and it's very hard to explain. But I do have the visual in my mind's eye, and it's quite fascinating. A couple other things that have happened to me. I have noticed in the last month, I am a much calmer version of myself. Things are not impacting me like they used to, even little things, small anxieties, physical issues. I have always had a neck situation, terribly stiff neck, holding a lot in. I am sure of it. This is just the way it's always been in my adult life. I don't have this anymore. It has started in the last month. It's almost like because when we move into the higher vibrations, illness cannot exist at that level. Pain and suffering in that sense of the body cannot exist. And I think we start seeing subtle shifts and changes in our body too. I have a lower back situation in the sacral area where it can often feel very painful. And that is lessening too. And it's significant, particularly in my neck. So I am noticing physical issues, physical situations that are improving on their own. Things are also of more ease and grace. Now, back in August, I offered a channel where they talked about the last part of this year, and they talked about the energies being of more ease and grace, and almost like you are floating along, but you're still participating and doing all the things you would normally do, but at a higher, okay, they just said on a higher plane. Oh, a higher plane of existence is what they just said, which makes sense, that higher vibration. And yet, you're also starting to, or will start to see when you're in this phase, a higher vibration of the others that you're dealing with. So again, this is a phase, I firmly believe, of the awakening. Now, we move in and out of these phases, okay? Sometimes we go back and experience a phase again, and then we continue to move forward. But every time, it's at a higher level. Also, what I want to mention is, if you're not at this phase now, don't worry about it. We're all at different stages. Remember the channels that I've talked about, wave upon wave upon wave of the awakening. There's some of us that are forerunners to this, experiencing these things first, all right? And then you can learn from those of us who are moving forward initially into the, and some that are watching this today have been in this phase, are in different phases that I haven't even talked about yet. So that said, know that this is a phase that comes along in the awakening as you go through the, what at least for me has been the very trying times, your initial awakening, you're moving into the learning and exploring phase, the kind of the embodying of the higher self of you. And then, going through the struggles of the emotions and all of this bubbling up and dealing with this. Not saying those things aren't happening, but so much is cleared in 2019 for those of us in this wave, okay? That now this is a phase that we're starting to move into. Ease and grace, lighter energies, and you feel it even if you can't put it into words. So thank you so much for joining me today. And again, I will remind you of my services on purplerainhealing.com. If you would like to work with me, I would love to work with you. They're listed on that website: channeling, distance energy healing, and spiritual awakening mentoring, where I assist you in understanding your soul journey and helping you launch forward even further. So thank you again, and I will see you in the next video.